All right, this is how I would start that. Keeping in mind, everybody is going to come to that with a different background. Everybody in this class would be capable of doing the first page. Um, if I'm not mistaken, the version I uploaded, it's one page and there's some pale writing on it. Years ago, I actually used that in the piano classes as an optional thing. And what I did was I lightly marked in a sort of a peachy red pen letters for notes that people would probably not know. I didn't write it in for everything because I assumed people would know the notes we had worked on. And also, if a note appeared, let me grab my water. When it appeared again, I would not repeat it. I figured you've got it there, you can figure it out. So, that being said, that will be a good tool because it's going to help you with things you don't know. You can always write additional things in if you need it. There are plenty of tutorials on YouTube as well. This is how I used to start people in a very, very tiny step-by-step fashion. It's not like what you see on the videos. I would start by looking at this very beginning. There's two fingering choices that make sense. I'm using a 5, a pinky on the E, and that works. There's another fingering that I think is easier in the first notes. That's putting a 4 there. Then you shift a little bit. So each one of those is easier in one way and maybe not quite as easy in another way. But for your hands, you can find which feels easier. I think I can do both, but I kind of think if I'm actually going to play it, I would probably use 4-3 because 5-4, I think 5-4 is a little bit harder to move smoothly. So the way I would start people would be I would literally just do the E's and the D sharps. I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever fingering. If it was a private lesson, I would always have people try both fingerings. If it was a class, I might do it both and then kind of settle in on one way. So after that becomes easy. I'm sorry. When I sit a little sideways like this, sometimes it throws me off a little bit with just like feeling where the notes are because I'm just turned a little bit. So after that, there is a skip down to B. This is probably going to be easier to do with that sheet in front of you. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you reach down and play. So if we put that together, if that's hard at any point, and it may well be, I always like to suggest make a slight pause. Let's say you get this down, and you sometimes make a mistake with the next note. I would say, well, then pause a little bit there, slow your thinking, and carefully work through the notes, and do that a couple times. You will find your fingers start knowing where to go. So that's how I would treat that first step. You probably would need to do it more times than that, really depending on your background, but I'm not going to do it more now because it would be the same thing. So then looking at the right hand, my next step, there's going to be rests in the middle, but after this little part, your hand moves down. You're up here. That thumb that's on an A has to lift and go down to C. I'm playing those slowly and deliberately. My 2 finger reaches to E, and there's a little bit of a stretch going to A and then a step. The middle of that is often challenging because that just feels funny for people's hands stretching in the middle like that. If you use the wrong fingering, it won't. Like what people sometimes do is this, and then kind of just flop their hand over. That's not really gonna work. So I'm gonna do this once without talking. then there's a rest, and then the third little motive or group of notes, your hand shifts over, my thumb's on the E. From the E, I go to the middle black note, that's G sharp, to B and C. So I will play both hands, and I think this is all on the camera. So you can focus on the right hand, then I'll show you the left hand. And that's how much I'm going to do today. I'm going to now switch to the left hand. The left hand, let me see if the lowest note's going to be in. Yeah, it will. Actually, the lowest note in the right hand is your A with the pinky. It's the exact same note in the very beginning when I talked about Jericho. So, now the notes on the page are individual notes where you would, if you followed that, you would lift. You would make that smooth, but you would lift the notes. But it's kind of a piano technique thing that often when notes form a chord, in certain circumstances when it's the harmony, you often leave them down, kind of overlapping, because it fills in the sound. Either way is okay. So we have this pattern where if we analyze it, the bottom note's an A, the top note's an A, and what's in the middle? An E. This is an incredibly common left-hand pattern. Then your pinky's going to go down to E, and you're going to reach an octave. So you go down to E, this pattern's different, and your two finger is going to cross to the middle black note. Then it goes back to the first one. So this time I'm going to do it again. I'm going to play the right hand a little bit softer, and you can focus on the left hand. At this point, much of that section is going to repeat, slight variation, so I will hold off on that. But what I will do is I will play what I just played, I will use the pedal, and I will go through the next section. This is the same, different. Then that entire section repeats.